Hey guys, welcome back to another section of the JavaScript. In this section, we're going to discuss all about the OOPs. So before working on practically, we need to know what is the OOP and how does work it. OOP stands for Object-Oriented Programming. Procedure programming is about writing procedures or methods that perform operations on the data, while object-oriented programming is about creating objects that contain both data and methods. Let's look at that and other things. Object-oriented programming OOP is a programming paradigm fundamental to many programming languages, including C#, Java, and C++, and so on and so forth. How is object-oriented programming implemented in JavaScript? This is a question, but don't worry, I will tell you everything step by step. How does this differ from the other languages? Can you implement inheritance in JavaScript? Yes, we can do everything as you allow inside the JavaScript. I will tell you everything step by step. OOPs concept: object, classes, encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, and polymorphism. Those are important things in the OOPs of the language. Means any languages such as Java, C#, C++ have a same thing like classes, encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism, and so on and so forth. So we need to know everything inside there: classes, encapsulation, abstraction, and many other things. So let's look at that. The object. What is the object? An object is a unique entity that contains properties and methods. For example, a car is a real-life object which has some characteristics like car, like color, type, model, and horsepower, and performance certain action like driving. The characteristics of an object are called properties in object-oriented programming, and the action are called methods. An object is an instance of class. Objects are everywhere in JavaScript. Almost every element in an object, whether it is a function, array, or string. So note, a method is a method in JavaScript, a property of an object whose values is a function. So let's look at that inside the VS Code, how we can create object and how we can call it, how we can do something like new. So go to the VS Code editor. So I'm gonna leave the slides and go to my code editor. So inside there we're gonna create an object, and yeah. So let's look at that. Defining object. So let's create a, I'm gonna use let keyword on there, person, curly brackets, his first name, assign the value, John. The next one is his last name, the toe, right? So this is our object. If you want to call this one object data outside of there, so you need to use console.log and person dot first name, then you will get the John inside the console. So let's look at that inside the console in a minute. In just a minute, I'm gonna use that and leave it inside there. Open it, my project, open the console. Right now, as you can see, the John text has been appeared inside the console. Perfect. So let's look at that, how we can use the last name. So just write the key name, save, and you can get that, right? Let's create a function inside there, or you can say that methods inside the object. So I'm going to call that get function key, assign the value of the function. In the function, I'm going to use return keyword, and I'll use literal template parentheses, the name of the person I'm gonna increase the some few things inside there. So I'm gonna target that person. This is object name dot first name, right? And then I'm gonna use person dot last name. Once you've done that, then you need to call this one function inside there, but I'm gonna leave that because you will get this. I'm gonna use console.log. I'm gonna target my person object. Inside they have of functions. I'm gonna call the function name, use parentheses, so console. So let's look at that. The name of the person is John Doe and parentheses, but I'm gonna leave the parentheses right now because I just want to display some text. Cool. Right now, as you can see, perfect. Let's create an object inside the object. So this is our object. Inside the object I will create another object within object. We know all about the objects, and earlier we have discussed them a lot of times to store the data and display the data inside the console. You know how you can use the object, but I'm gonna repeat that, right? So let's look at that. I'm gonna use phone number. This is another object. So inside there I'm gonna use few things like this is a key, edge, like I'm gonna assign that will be 35 and email abc@gmail.com, like that. So I want to get the edge from the phone number object. I'm gonna use that will be info. So I need to use console.log, and I'm gonna use the person object, the first one that is appeared on top of the page, and then I'm gonna use info. Inside the info have a email and edge. So I just need to use dot, then I'm able to see two parameters have been appeared inside my drop down, edge and email, which data you want to get that and display inside the console. So I'm gonna use the edge. So let's look at that. The John Doe and so on, and the age is 35. Do you want to display the email just like that and use email, save, and cool right now. So this is a very simple way to create an object. I have explained you all about that. In the next video we're going to discuss all about the another important things inside the OOP of the JavaScript. So thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day. Hey guys, let's look at that the constructor function in JavaScript. Constructor function is a similar like a normal function, but inside there you can use this keyword. Also, you can't create the arrow function inside the arrow key inside the constructor. Let's look at that how we can create that and how we can use it with the help of new operator keyword, or you can say that new keyword. So let's look at that. I'm going to create a const, write the name. The first character is large, remember that. Write the function, use parentheses, curly brackets. So this is our constructor, right? Constructor. How you can call it? Just write the new keyword, calling constructor. Write the new keyword and name of the constructor, use parentheses, that's it. So when you will call it by using new keyword, four things have used behind the scene. The first one is creating a new object. When you will call it by using new keyword, a new object is created. The second thing is function is called this keyword with empty object. Third one is Third thing is you need to create this will create automatically object and linked with prototype. In the next video we're going to discuss that prototype step by step, but this time you need to know the constructor. And the fourth one is function automatically return empty object. When you will use new keyword and calling the constructor, then those things do that behind the scene. So first of all, I'm going to save it and open the browser. You can't see anything else inside there because we need to use few things inside the constructor. The first thing is I'm going to passing the parameter inside there. The parameter is first name and the next one is second. I'm going to use birthday. But that I'm going to use inside there. I need to use console.log. Just write this time. I'm going to show you those things inside the console. Then I need to store this one those data inside our normal variable. So I'm going to use student one. So I'm going to use the console.log and use student1, and then you will be able to see the empty object and many other things inside the console. So let's look at that. 2 times okay, I'm going to leave this one because I've used that inside there. As you can see guys, this is the empty person object and have a constructor name, 2 parameters, and so on and so forth. Inside there have many other things, but we need to know the empty object, right? New object created when you will call it by using new keyword, right? But I want to use those parameters inside the constructor, and I'm gonna passing those data inside my this one. So you can use this use this keyword and the first name, and those are instance properties. First name and passing the first name parameter, right? Use this dot birth year, passing that birth year, right? Then we need to use the I'm going to create a duplicate that because I'm going to passing the parameters in the next one. First name I'm going to use John, and I'm going to use the birth year will be 1990, like that. So you will able to see those data have been appeared inside the console like that. As you can see, first name John, birth year 1990, and same thing inside there, right? Let's create another object so I can do the many objects. So student2, this will be a Sumit, and I'm going to use that 85, so calling it with let's look at that, right? So you need to create a one-time constructor, and you can call it multiple times outside of the constructor, just passing different data inside the parentheses when you will call it by using new keyword, right? Let's look at that. The instance properties, those are instance properties inside the constructor, and also those also have instance properties in constructor. So let's check it now. What is different between the normal variable? So I'm going to create a normal variable. First I'm going to show you console.log, and I'm going to use the keyword that will help us to match the data. So I'm going to use student1, this one, and I'm going to check it by using instead of a keyword. Then I'm going to use that person. this is my normal instance variable, you can say that, or instance property inside the person, but have an outside of the person. But when you will check it by using instance of keyword, then you will get the true result. So let's look at that. So I've used that inside there, and this is my constructor name. When those data will match, I check those data as match, then we will get the true result, otherwise we will get false result. Save, and let's look at that. As you can see, true means that student 1, student 2, those are instance property of the constructor. So let's look at that. Normal variable. So I'm going to use const normal. I just use JavaScript. So let's check it now by using instance of. So I'm going to use same thing, console.log, and I'm going to use that normal variable like that, and use same tactics, instance of person. You will get false result because this is a normal variable. It doesn't exist inside the constructor or outside of the constructor. I do not use that with new keyword. So let's look at that. As you can see, true. But when you will use that as a new keyword and passing those things, new person, and passing those parameters like John Smith, I'm going to use Judy Thomas, like that. So then you will get true result, right? So this is a call constructor, and how you can create a constructor, how you can call it, and how you can check that by instance variables or instance properties outside of the constructor. When you will use the new keyword and calling the particular constructor, then the particular variable will match or will include inside our constructor. That's called instance property. So thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day. Hey guys, let's look at that, the object prototypes. Once we understood that, then we're gonna use it practically inside our VS Code editor. Prototypes are the mechanism by which JavaScript objects inherit features from one another. Every object in JavaScript has a built-in property which is called its prototype. The prototype is itself an object, so the prototype will have its own prototype, making what's called a prototype chain. The chain ends when we reach a prototype that has null for its own property. We're gonna discuss the prototype chain on later. This time you need to know the prototype chain and prototype, right? I will give you an example on the prototypes inside my VS Code editor, but you need to know what is the prototype and how does it work. Note, the property of an object that points to its prototype is not called prototype. Its name is not standard, but in practice all browsers use _proto__. The standard way to access an object's prototype is the object.getPrototypeOf method. So let me give you an example inside my VS Code editor. So I'm going to close that, and I have a person objects or person constructor. Inside they have a first name and value, bucket and value. So when I click on that, as you can see the prototype inside my VS Code editor, when I use new keyword to create a calling the constructor, then I have explained you all about that. Number 3, create a link create an object linked with prototype. So this is a call prototype. So inside they have a bunch of methods. You can use them to display the different type of result inside the console screen. So let me give you an example and how does work it inside the VS Code editor or inside our JavaScript project. So inside the person constructor, I didn't use the function. So how you can create a function? You can use this way, and I'm going to use just a minute. Just a minute. Are you 2037 negative by this dot birthday? So it is acceptable inside there, but it is not important to use the function inside the constructor. You can use the prototype to create a copy of the function, then you can use that multiple times when you will call the object. So it's working perfectly on this time. I'm going to show you in a minute. So I'm going to use that student 3. No, I'm going to use comment it student dot call catch parenthesis and let's look at that. Undefined. Just a minute. I'm going to check. Right now, as you can see, 52. When you will call the student 1 to get the calculator as 47. Right, so I'm going to cut that and I'm going to show you great way. I'm going to don't do that. Right, I'm going to use prototypes to make a copy of the function, then we're going to attach it with our person constructor or constructor object. So let me give you an example how you can create that. So first of all, I'm going to use where I have written that. I'm going to use console.log and I'm going to use the person constructor name or object name. Inside there I use dot prototype. First I'm going to show you, save it and open the console. Once you call it, as you can see, this is a constructor. When you click on arrow sign, the constructor have a 2 parameters. You have received all of the data which contains inside the constructor, right? The name of the constructor have a person and prototype is the object and many other properties, right? But I want to create a function and I want to attach the function with my person object. So how I can do that? So create and attach or inherit. Create and attach function. So you need to create a calling the person object dot prototype, and you need to use dot and write the function name, which function you want to create it, and attach it with your person constructor. So let's do the same. Call edge, write that parenthesis curly bracket. Inside there I'm going to use console.log and I'm going to use same tactics that I used on earlier, this dot. But yeah, I can use this keyword inside there. I can do that because I've used the person. When you will use the person, then you can use this keyword to calling the particular parameters inside the person object or person constructor. So once you do that, then calling the attach function. First I'm going to save it without calling that. I'm going to show you like that. As you can see, once you click on that, then you are able to see the calc edge function has been appeared inside the prototype or inside my constructor with the name of calc edge. Inside they have nothing, but we're gonna add the calling that, then you will able to see the result inside the console. So how you can call it? You need to target your variable, particular variable that have a data, which data the John and date of birth, and have also new keyword that represent to create a instance property. So you need to use that, and once you use that, then you are able to see the calc edge function has been appeared inside the drop down menu. You can use parentheses, curly brackets, terminator sign, save it, and let's look at that. 47. I'm going to add that will be student 2. I can do that. Save, and look at that. So you don't need to create a multiple objects inside the constructor or inside the constructor function. You don't create a multiple function, so you just need to create a one-time copy and calling it multiple times. You will get the same result. You don't create a multiple functions inside the constructor. Outside of the constructor, you can use prototype and create a function and use the logic inside there to display the data inside the console, and do there something like this one. Right, let's use the student. First I'm going to use console.log, and I'm going to use the student one dot underscore proto underscore what we will get inside the console. So let's look at that. Once you use that, then inside the underscore proto have a function with the name of calc edge. Right now, as you can see, when you use that, but I'm going to use top, have a same thing, but inside my person object you can't find the calc edge because this is a inherit with our person object or person constructor. It is make a copy and attach it with our person object when you will use the prototype, right? You can also use different ways to check the prototype of the particular instance property like this one. So let me share with you. I'm going to use console.log. I will give you many examples on that because it is very important topic. So I'm going to use person.prototype dot is prototype of, and inside there I'm going to passing my instance variable that have a data. So save, first we're going to save it and check it inside the console. Prototype prototype save and true. It is prototype of the person. Yes, it is. Let's use student 2, and I'm going to show you all of the things and true. But when I will create my own prototype and attach with my person object, you can't see the true result. So let me give you an example. Prototype linked with object. So I'm going to use person.prototype, and I'm going to add the property. When you will create a object, you know how you can attach the key and value, so you can use same tactics inside there. So I'm going to use prototype dot and write any name as you want. So I'm going to attach the property or key inside the prototype or inside the person, this one name, and this will be values JavaScript, right? So let's look at that by using console.log, and I'm going to calling it like this one after that. So, and look at that. Once you call it, you can't find the property like courses, but when you will click on the prototype, then you are able to see the function is appeared inside the prototype, and also have a key or another value with the name of courses. The values JavaScript has been appeared inside the prototype. It doesn't contains inside my original person constructor, right? It is a copy, or it is another things that is attached with our person constructor, right? So Now let's look at that by using this one, save, and as you can see inside the underscore underscore proto underscore underscore have our courses, have JavaScript and calculate edge function is up here inside there, right? Calc edge courses. When you will use the underscore underscore proto underscore underscore to check the prototype which is contains inside the student one, right? The last thing I'm going to show you how to check the prototype linked with our objects. So prototype linked, so I already used that, so I'm going to use the console.log. Remember that inside my person have a two own properties, first name and birth year, but in other properties and function like calc edge and also courses is outside of the person. It is a prototypes, so we're going to check it is prototype or it is own property inside the person, so you can do this. So I'm going to use student one, the instance property name that is contains there with new keyword, and I'm going to use has on property, and inside there you need to pass the property names like first name, and get that and paste it, save it, you'll get true result right now because this is a property of the student one. Let's use the second one property, birth year, save, and look at that. But when you will call the courses property, because it is not has a own property of the person, it is a prototype. When I use the prototype to attach the courses instance variable, or you can say that the value, then it doesn't exist inside there. As you can see, this is a false, means those are original, or you can say that instance property of the person constructor. And when you will use the other things like prototype courses, those are attached with our person object, but those are appear inside the prototype. Inside the prototype, as you can see, inside the prototype object have a calculate edge function and have a courses. In the default, you are able to see only two properties like birth year and first name. So this is a called prototypes. You need to watch this one later lecture again and again. Once you understood that, then you will move on the next one lecture. Please watch it again and again. You need to go on MDN. If you face any problem, MDN prototype, use prototype. I will give you an example of the prototype change sound later. You need to read this one documentation to understand everything inside the prototype. So thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day. Hey guys, let's look at the usage of prototypes inside our slides. And earlier we have discussed that practically, but this time we need to know how to work it and what happens when you will call the constructor outside of the constructor or outside of the object using new keyword. So this is a constructor with the name of person, and this is a code. Once you create a constructor, it will generate automatically property with the name of person.prototype, right? So this is a calc edge function. Don't focus on that this time, just focus on this one. Once this will create a property of the person.prototype, then you can use the prototype property to add the functions, add the value inside the property of the person. Then you can use it by using constructor. You know, we have used that student.one.calc edge function like that. Not a person but object created by person, not a person but object create a function. So what happens when you will use new keyword to calling the constructor? The fourth thing is doing that. The first one is a new operator, or you can say the new keyword is create an empty object behind the scene. Remember that, behind the scene, empty object created. This is an empty object. This keyword is the constructor. Function call is set to the new object. Inside our new object have a data like a name, John, birthday, 199, like this one. This by using this keyword. Once we done that, then we have seen the underscore proto and person.prototype key and values assigned inside our object. Once this will be assigned, then it will linked with our prototype property of the person. So this is the third step. The new object is linked with underscore property. This is underscore property dot like that to the constructor function prototype property. So this is our constructor, and once you create the constructor, then it will create a property of the person.prototype, right? The next one is always points to an object's prototype. Always points like this one. Once you create an object, every object have a underscore proto underscore, right? Inside that have a particular object name and also property of the prototype. Cool. Let's look at that. The fourth one is the new object is returned from the constructor function call. This is how function constructor works in ES6. Let's look at that. The calc edge function, student.calc edge, you can use that to calling the function inside the person.prototype. You can't find calc edge function inside the constructor or inside the object of the person. Right now you can't find that inside this one object. So this is my object. When you will create a constructor or object, you can say that you can't find that, but you can find it inside the person.prototype. So let me give you this one practically inside my VS Code editor, inside my browser. So I'm going to refer that, and this is my normal object, but you can't find that the calc edge function. But inside the prototype object, you are able to see the calc edge function. So this is the property of the person object or class. Let's look at that. The object, inside the object, you are able to see the calc edge function and also courses, key and values. We know all about that on earlier. So let's look at that. The chain, what chain? Prototype chain. We're gonna work on that after completing this one video. We're gonna work on the prototype chain inside our VS Code editor, but before working on practically, we need to know what is the prototype chain is. So this is our normal function, normal object. Inside they have a property with the name of underscore proto, and those are linked. This is an object itself. Remember, every object in JS has a prototype. We have learned that in our previous slides. In the last lecture, I think we had discussed that every object have a prototype in JS. So have a prototype, and this is object.prototype. Once we create that inside there, then it will create another object, prototype object. Once this will be created, then the next one is calling the constructor function with the name of object. Built-in constructor function for object. This is used when we write an object literal like that. So this is the object, and you can find the object like inside the prototype property, and you can also find out the person object inside the constructor and inside the prototype property. So those all of the things, all of the linked each linked have a called prototype chain. Series of the link between objects linked through the prototype, it is called prototype chain. And the default prototype value is null. You know, in the earlier we have seen that the default prototype value is none. But how you can find this one property, student.hasOn property? In earlier we have seen that in the student.hasOn property, inside there you can pass the value which have assigned inside the class of the person. So let's look at that, how you can find it. You can't find that hasOn property inside the object of the student, right? Can't find that inside the prototype of the person. Can't find that, right? But you can find it inside the hasOn property inside our object. So let's look at that, this one and all of the things inside over there. I'm going to refer that. So let's look at that, the property that is appeared. Where is constructor? No, I'm gonna checking out prototype like that. This is our object and you are able to see hasOn property. When you will use the hasOn property method, it will check the object of the student, it will check the class or object of the person. Once it can't find that, then it will move on the third one step like that object. So this is the third one step, like that, where it is, we seen like that. No, like there. It will find out the hasOn property. So in the next video we're gonna discuss that practically how we can link in by using prototype chain. So thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day. Hey guys, welcome back. Let's look at that, the practically working on the prototypes chain and also prototype. You know all about the prototypes. In earlier we have seen that inside our slides and also we have worked on that practically, but this time I'm going to work on the prototype chain. But before working on the prototype chain, we need to know all about this one code. Very simple code. So this is a constructor with the name of person. Inside they have a 2 instance variable. Once you clear that, then it will generate behind the scene 4 things: create a new object, function calling, LinkedIn, so on so far. We have learned that. But when you will call this one using new keyword and the particular class name, then you need to assign the data, then you will get the result inside the console screen like John and something like this one. Perfect. Another thing is, when you will use the person class to use the prototype to create a function, that function will attach inside the prototype property. This will not attach or not store inside the person constructor. Understand? When you will create this one function by using prototype property, then calc edge function is assigned inside the prototype property. It doesn't store inside the person, so have a same thing inside the prototype chains. So let's look at that. I'm going to use console.log. So you need to use student.__proto__. Then you will get the different type of results inside there. As you can see, inside the student have a prototype function with the name of calc edge, and inside they have a different type of values. But when you will get the again prototype, you will get the constructor. Click on that, you will get again another things, and so on and so forth. Right? So let's use it with another time. I want to jump it inside the prototype. So I can use, in just a minute, I'm going to write object.prototype, top of the prototype chain. So I'm going to use start again __ proto, then it will enter inside the prototype, right? So let's look at that right now. As you can see, so once you use that, then you'll get different type of method which contains inside there, inside the prototype property. So as you can see, has on property is a prototype of, and local string, to local string, and many other things, right? So once again I'm going to use it that I want to see inside this one prototype property. You will get the null. You know the default value of the main object is null. Inside the slides we have discussed that all about the null value, right? So this time I'm going to get the person, and I'm going to use another things. I'm going to use console.log. This time I'm going to use console.dir, and I'm going to use person.prototype. This time I'm going to use prototype. You will get the object. Inside the object have a calc edge function, and same thing, same properties, but one more time I'm going to add that I want to display the constructor function. Means inside the constructor what I will get the data. So I can use dot constructor. First is person. Inside the person I have used the prototype. Inside the prototype I used the constructor. So you will get the constructor deeply data inside the console like that, as you can see. So inside the constructor have a name person. First name is parameter is the first name, and one more time you are able to see the prototype have a calc edge function, right? Cool thing is like that. So let's let's work on the arrays. I'm going to show you cool thing. So I'm going to use map method in JavaScript. So I'm going to open my mdn web docs or developer.mozilla.org. Once you write that, then you are able to see this is the array dot prototype dot map method. So map method is contains inside the prototype property, right? This is a constructor. So I go to my top of the page, and this is my constructor. I've used the calc edge function, so this is a similar like this one, right? So let me share with you inside the array. So I'm going to create a const add. I'm going to use random value like that, and I'm going to use console.log. I want to check the use a __ proto __ I want to display all of the method that is contains inside the array constructor. So I used the array variable, and I'm going to use the property of the array. So let's look at that inside the console. This is the array constructor. Inside the array constructor I have all of the array method that we have used on earlier, like entities, filter, find index, find lost index, flat map, for each, and so on, right? Hope I understood as well all about that. So let's check it now by using, I'm going to check that console.log array, this one variable dot __ proto, is match with our array. This is my constructor array that have a lot of methods attached with inside the constructor, attached with, not included inside the constructor. So I'm going to use prototype. So let's look at that. You'll get true right now, as you can see. Means this one array properties match our array constructor prototype. Yes, it's true. You will get the true result inside the console. Let's do that. Another important thing, I want to create a method that I want to attach with inside my array constructor. So you can do that. So let's do that. So I made the array. Inside there I'm going to add the duplicate value. So we're going to use it. We're going to use the new array method to get the unique value from there, right? Create your own methods and store it inside the array methods. So I'm going to use array. This is a constructor dot prototype dot write the prototype means method name. And earlier we used that like this one. So you can use this way to create a method and store it inside the array prototype properties, right? So I'm going to use my method, write the function curly bracket, and I'm going to use return 3 times dot new, and I'm going to use set this keyword like this one, set. So let's look at that how we can use that. So I'm going to use array, this one my variable, and I'm going to use dot method. This will give us unique data. Inside my array have 2 duplicate data like 66, 66. So save, and let's look at that. As you can see, 6, 66, 65. You can't see the duplicate data inside my array. Last thing I'm going to show you, I have this one h1 tag, right? I want to see everything which used behind the h1 tag, right? So let's look at that by using prototype, right? So I'm going to use dot const h1 I think yeah, h1. Leave that h1 document dot query selector looks like h1 tag, right? And yeah, I'm gonna use. So I think yeah, I'm gonna use the h1 dot. Right, so I don't need to get the data, but just I use h1 dot prototype. I'm able to see the prototype data. So I go to down, and I'm going to show you. As you can see, this is a prototype of the h1 is the HTML element. We have used that on earlier. So I want to see what is the behind the HTML element is. I go down and where it is, just a minute. HTML element, and what is behind, I think, just a minute, just a minute guys, I'm gonna check it from top. Right now, the first one is the prototype. I'm gonna split that and click again. Inside the HTML element here, just a minute, I'm going to show you another things. Have a HTML element. Inside the HTML element, in a minute, I'm going to use prototype. Inside the HTML element, you will get another things. Where it is, Node.js. Where it is, I'm going to inside the HTML element, I'm going to check that where is behind the HTML elements. So as you can see, inside the HTML element have an element. Inside the element you will get the Node.js list. In a minute I'm going to show you. As you can see, prototype is node list. When you will click on that, you will get again event target. So this is the last of the property of the prototype. So the first one is event target, the next one is Node.js, then element, and those are things which used behind the H1. So you can use them inside the JS to manipulate the H1 data and display something like event and so on and so forth. So this is a call prototype chain. In a minute. Prototype chain. So you can use it multiple times inside your VS Code editor or any other code editor. Please repeat the videos, like especially prototypes and prototype chains. If you face any problem, please visit use prototype in JavaScript. Please visit this one website. You will get a lot of knowledge inside the prototypes. So thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day. Hey guys, welcome back. In the last lecture we have discussed all about the prototypes and constructor. In this video we're going to discuss all about the classes and how you can use the classes to do the same thing which we have used on earlier manually, but inside the classes we're going to do the same thing without writing a bunch of codes. So let's get started to understand what is classes, and also we're going to discuss all about a little bit of object. Classes are blueprints of an object. A class can have many objects because the class is a template, while objects are instances of the class or the concrete implementation. Before move further into implementation, we should know, unlike other object-oriented languages, there are no class in JavaScript. We know all about that. Without classes, we have made the constructor. Inside the constructor, we have used the prototype like this one. To be more precise, JavaScript is a prototype-based object-oriented language, which means it doesn't have classes. Rather, it defines behavior using a constructor function and then reuse it using the prototype. We know all about that. Even the classes provided by ECMA 2015 are objects. JavaScript classes introduced in ECMAScript 2015 are primarily syntactically sugar over JavaScript existing prototype-based inheritance. The class syntax is not introducing a new or object-oriented inheritance model to JavaScript. JavaScript classes provide a much simpler and clearer syntax to create an object and deal with inheritance. Mozilla Developer Network. So let's get started to understand what is the class and how you can create that, how you can create a constructor inside the class, how you can create a method without using prototype. So we have used this way to create a method. This is a manual way, and we have made the constructor like this one, right? But we need to know the class. There are two ways to create a class expression. So this is a special type of method. So write the constructor name, class name like this one. Use class, use curly bracket. This is the expression. The next one is the declaration. Use class. So inside there you need to create a class. Write the class name, personal CL, use curly brackets. Inside the curly brackets you can create a constructor, but I'm gonna leave this one and I'm gonna use this one, class declaration usage, to do the same thing which we have used on earlier, right? Without creating a class, we have made the instance variable and create a function. So let's do that inside the constructor. So you can write the constructor using constructor keyword inside the class. Same thing you need to do on there, passing the parameter first name, birth, year. I'm gonna go top and I'm gonna leave the comment on this one because I will give you another examples on that. I'm gonna also leave this one. Right, use curly brackets and I'm gonna use same tactics. This is the instance properties. So I'm gonna use this dot first name, this dot birth year. Right, so we're gonna call it calling a class. So you can use same tactics that we have used on earlier to calling the constructor. So create a variable, write the name like John, use new keyword, and inside there you need to use the class name, use parentheses and passing the value inside there like John, and the date will be 19085. So let's look at that inside the console, but we need to call it. So in a minute we need to call it using console.log, and I'm going to call the John, and you will get the same thing that we have used on earlier, like this one. As you can see, personal class, inside there have two properties or variables and values, and have a prototype. Inside the prototype have class, and name is a personal CL, and so you will find out more details inside the prototype. Right, I want to create a method. So how I can do that? Right, so you can create the method inside the class outside of the constructor. So this is a curly bracket of the constructor. Outside of that you need to create a instance method. Call, write the function name, use parentheses, curly brackets. Inside there I'm going to use console.log, use the data like this one or logic. So this is our function. So we're going to use John calling fun. So I'm going to call John dot edge calc edge and use parentheses. You will get the result like this one, 55. You don't need to use the dot prototype and so on so far. You just make that inside the class, then it will automatically generate behind the scene prototype properties, right? You don't need to create a manually. You just use the function name and use the logic inside the curly brackets. You will get the same result that we have learned on earlier, right? So let's check it now. Check prototype. So I'm going to use console.log and I'm going to use the my John variable that have a data of the class dot underscore proto. I'm going to check that triple equal to, then I'm going to call the class. I'm going to use the class dot prototype. Once the data will match, then you will get the true result, otherwise we will get false. Right now as you can see, this is a true, means those are same thing. John underscore property of the proto and personal prototype properties are matched. We have seen the data is true. Also you can use the class and you can create a manually that we have used on earlier. So let's look at that. I'm going to calling the class, use prototype. I'm going to create a function using prototype. So I'm going to use courses, right, function curly brackets. Inside there I'm going to use console.log. We are learning JS from scratch, like this one. So I'm gonna use same thing, john.courses. I will get the same results. So let's look at that. We are learning JavaScript from scratch. So I use the prototype to create a function, but you can use same thing without using prototype inside the class. So let's look at that. I'm going to cut that and I'm going to use courses curly brackets and paste on there. Leave this one. Behind the scene it will automatically generate the prototype property when you will use that inside the class. So let's look at that. We are learning JS from scratch. We don't need to use the prototype manually inside there, right? Let's comment that, and I'm going to give you another example to creating a class using another property. So I'm going to use class vehicle curly brackets, calling the constructor, passing the parameter name, maker and engine, right? Use curly bracket, and I'm going to use same thing. Name, assign the name, this dot maker equal to maker, and this dot engine, assign the engine, like that. So also I'm going to create a function inside there. So get detail curly brackets. So inside there I'm going to use return keyword, parenthesis, little template, the name of the vehicle is start name, like that. Set. So create a class, create a method, and also we're gonna use calling the class object and assign it inside variable, like that. So create a variable like I'm gonna use car, new vehicle class name, use parentheses. You need to pass 3 parameters. The first one is the name of the vehicle, so I'm gonna use Altis, and the second one is the company maker name is Toyota, and engine size is 1299, like that. And then I'm going to use same thing, const car to new vehicle, and this time I'm going to use Sonata, and maker name is Hyundai, and engine is 199, like that. So this is a car too, right? So this is a very easy way to use it inside the class, right? You don't need to use the prototype, but you must have a knowledge all about the prototype, right? So save, and what happened the prettier on there, just a minute. Okay, so let's use the console.log, and I'm going to use the car dot, I want to get the name of the car. So let's look at that. What 177, like that. Where is the mistake? in a minute. So I'm going to comment that and just check that what left hand in a minute. I'm going to leave this one, and first I'm going to check that what happened inside there. Left hand side assignment. Okay, cool. So here's my mistake, so I'm gonna leave that and you will get the result right now, as you can see. But I want to get only name of the car, so I need to use dot and name. So let's look at that. Ls. I'm gonna use same thing, but this time I'm gonna uncomment that and I'm gonna leave this one equal sign on there. And the next one I'm going to use maker will be in the second one, and also I want to use a method that contains from the get. So let's look at the result. LTS Hyundai, the name of the vehicle is LTS right now, as you can see. So you can use the class. Inside the class you can create a method. You don't need to use the prototype, so it is very clean and clear code. You can use it to do this something new, but you must have a knowledge all about the constructor and also prototype and how does work it. So thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day. Hey guys, welcome back. Let's look at that the setter and getter properties in JavaScript. We're gonna use that to set and get the data, get the value from the class. So let's look at that, how we can do that. You can also use that inside the object as well. So I'm going to show you two ways you can use the setter and getter. First of all, I'm going to use const and then use const create an object. Moments, and I'm gonna assign the random values like that, right? So this is our object, simple object. Inside there I'm gonna use console.log accounts save, open the browser, and our object has been appeared inside our console right now, right? So inside there you can use the setter and getter property to set and get the value. So I'm going to use the get value. So you can use get keyword and write the name using parentheses, and inside the curly bracket you need to use the logic to get the data from the current object. So I'm going to use return this dot moments dot slice parentheses -1. I'm going to get the data from pop parentheses. So you can use this way dot latest to get the result inside the console. Right now, as you can see, 986, and this logic will help us to get the data from the array, large number of the array, right? So inside the moments array have a maximum number of this one, 986, right? So this is the call get method. You need to use the like a dot and property name. You don't need to use the parentheses because it is not a method, it is only property. And set a value. So I'm going to add the value inside my moments array using set property and use latest. So inside there I'm going to passing the parameter like move. I'm going to use move. This dot moment dot push parentheses move, right? So how you can set the data? You need to use accounts dot latest and you need to use equal sign. You don't need to use parentheses and passing the parameter inside there. You need to use equal sign because this is a property Inside there you need to add the value like 1500 like that, so, and I'm gonna get it, and you'll get the result inside the console as well. As you can see, this is a large number, but I want to display all of the data, so let's look at that. As you can see, our latest number has been appeared inside the array, 1500 right now, right? So this is a call setter getter, so I've used the object, so let's comment out, and I'm going to use it in the class. Inside the class we're going to use same thing that we have used on there. So create a class personal CL. I think I need to check out, yes, I committed all of the code, so I don't need to use constructor, and yeah, full name. I'm going to use full name, birth year, property, and this, just a minute, vehicle, and yeah, this is our complete class, so we need to get that because I need to save the time and increment that. Right, so this is the first name, so I'm going to change that to display full name, and also we need to use full name, and cool. So const John new and personal class, I'm going to pass in the value John, comma 185. That, so this is a normal class, and we're going to use the console.log and use John variable to display the data inside the console right now. Cool. Full name John and birthday. So inside there we're going to create a set and getter, or you can say the set and getter to set the data and get the data. So let's look at that. So I'm going to use get edge. I'm going to get the edge from there. I know I already used the function, but I'm going to show you how you can use the get to get the edge from there, right? Use return keyword and use 2040 negative by this dot birth year, so, and then you need to use dot edge like that, so you'll get only edge right now, as you can see. So this is the only property. You need to use the particular object name or variable name, then you can access that with the help of property. As you can see, when I hover that, I'm able to see this is the property of the class. Cool. So let's set the property that already exists. Let's say I have a property full name, so I'm going to use it to set the same property. This time I'm going to show you another important thing. So I'm going to use full names, use set keyword full name, passing the parameter, use calibrate. Inside there you need to use the logic if name dot includes, use double quotation, and also you need to use the space, means after the single name user will enter the space, then I'm gonna use this dot full name and assign the name value. Otherwise I want to display the alert and use none is not full name. I want to get the full name from the user, right? So once you save that, I already made the object of the class, then you will able to see John is a not full name right now, as you can see. But when you will add the space like that, save, and you will get the error right now, as you can see. Maximum call stack size exceeded, right? So how you can fix that? Because I have a same name, so you need to use, this is a tactics, this is not use underscore on there, and yeah, okay, I think so. right now. As you can see, everything is clear on there. Underscore full name, this is a property name, and the name is John. I have used the space key inside my keyboard, then you can see the full name, but then after the space I'm going to use star, so you'll get that. Then you will remove the space and also the second one name save, and you'll get the John is not full name, right? So this is a usage of set and get property inside the JS. Get property is used to get the data from the current object or current class. Set property is used to set the data inside the class or inside the object. So I hope you are understood as well. Thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day. Hey guys, welcome back. Let's look at the static method in JavaScript. So first of all, I'm going to get the constructor. I go to top of the page where I have used the constructor like that. So I'm going to get this one and I'm going to show you usage of the constructor. Like this one. So I'm going to leave this one. I just use those things, right? Also leave this one. So I want to create a static method with the help of constructor. So I need to use the constructor name, write the static method name like display data, parentheses, no, use function, parentheses, calibrated, and inside there I'm going to use console.log and use display. This is static method like that. So calling static method. So you need to target your person class, constructor and display data, then you will get the data inside the console. Let's look at that, right? Just a minute. Okay, I'm going to give you an example on this one, array.from. So this is a call static method, right? But I will create an object or create a calling constructor. So I will create an object, you can say variable, and passing the constructor value inside the John like this one. So I'm going to pass in the value John, and this will be birth year 1985, right? So I want to use the display data function by using John constructor or John variable, right? You can't do that. Calling a static method and instance property of constructor, right? So this is the instance property of the constructor. So let's look at that. What happened? I'm going to use john.display data. So let's look at that. John.display data is not a function. Why? Because I made the function static function with the help of class. Without class you can't use the static method, right? So the static method is stored inside the constructor. You can use it with the help of constructor, with the help of constructor name, right? Without constructor name you can't use that, right? So let's look at that, the example inside the console by using array. So array.from, this is a static method, right? So I'm going to use document.querySelector all parentheses h1. I have a data inside the array h1, right? So inside there I'm able to see the data has been appeared inside my console, right? By using array.from. So I've used same thing like this one, person.display data. So we have seen the result inside the console. Means this is my constructor name and this is my method name. So it is similar like this one. This is the array and this is the array method that are stored inside the constructor of array. Once you done that, then you can easily use the static method, but I'm gonna use this way, like create array 1 2 like this one, and then I'm gonna use from. As you can see, type here dot from is not a function, so this is my array. This function doesn't exist inside the array, inside the array functions, but the from method is stored inside the array constructor, like this one, like this one. So you can use this one with the help of array constructor, right, like this one. So this is the call static method. So let's look at that by using a static method inside the class. So I'm going to get the class like this one, and inside there you can use same thing, but inside that I'm gonna remove some of the code like this one, right. So I will use the, first of all I'm going to show you another example on that, but before using that I'm going to use static display data return. When you will use return, then you need to use the console.log, otherwise you can use the console.log on there, then you don't need to use the console.log outside of the class to display the data, right. So I'm going to use this is a static method, right. So I want to call it, so I need to target my class name dot display data. You will able to see the data right now. It's working perfectly right now. But when I will create an object const John, then I'm going to assign the person class passing the parameter 198.5, and I want to use that static method using class name, and calling a static method using instance property of class. So this is instance property or instance variable inside the class, inside the constructor, right. So let's use the John.display data. So you are able to see the error, right. Let's look at that, another example on that. When you will create a John and you can use the static method inside there, you can do this. So I've used the constructor on top, so I'm going to comment that and just like so. This is my constructor and comment it, right. So I've used the class name to create a static method, but you can create a instance property of the constructor, then you can use it like John.display1 display data 1 another I just use another, then you can use the John to display the static method. So I've used that inside there. So let's look at that inside the console. Okay, I don't need to use that because I will John.display data 1 like this one. So let's look at that. This means you can use the static method to inside the class, inside the instance property, but you need to define the particular namespace where you want to create the static method, right. So I'm going to comment that, I'm going to leave that, and this is very simple and normal example on that. You can create a static method inside the class, and you can call it with the help of class name. That's it for the static method. So thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day. Hey guys, welcome back. In earlier we have seen the usage of ES6 classes, and also we have seen the usage of prototype. In this video we're going to discuss all about the object.create method that help us to add the prototype of any object. Let's say you will create an object and do you want to add the prototype, so you can use the object.create method that help us to add the prototype. When you will use object.create method, then you don't need to add the new keyword or don't need to create a class, so you just need to use object.create. So I'm going to give you an example how you can use that. So I go to top and I have a class like this one, class personal, and have a constructor. Those are data variables or parameters, so we're going to use those parameters to create a new object. Use const inside there. I'm going to get the edge function, and then in a minute I'm going to get this one just like this one and paste on there, right? This dot birthday, this will get from the there, right? So this is a simple object. Inside the object have a function calc edge. So let's look at that. Calling object create method or function, you can say that. So let's create that. This is my variable, use new, and then you need to use object.create, and where you want to add the prototype manually. So I want to target personal.proto. So, and then I'm going to use console.log John. Let's look at that inside the console. Empty object, click on that, this is the object, click on that. As you can see, calc edge stored inside our prototype, right? Let's add the value inside this one, right? But before adding the value, I'm going to create a function, but this time you can't see the function like only calc edge, but I'm going to create another function inside there. Init. This is a normal way to create a function. Don't focus on that, just focus on first name, birth year, this dot first name, this dot birth year and birth year, right? So I'm going to use John dot init, and then I'm going to use the value John and birthday is 19090, like this one. So first I'm going to make a duplicate. So let's look at that. So the first time is empty. Once you store the data inside the particular variables, the data have been appeared inside there. When you click on that, you can't find the function inside the object, but you can find it on the object, on the prototype. As you can see, calc edge and have another function in it, right? So this is the usage of create object.create method that help us to add the prototype of any object as you want, right? So let's create another object, but before using the object, let's check it now inside the John dot underscore proto underscore. Then I'm going to use triple equal to person proto personal proto, like this one. So we will get the true, otherwise we will get false, right? Both are true, means everything is perfect. to prototype and personal proto have a same thing, right? After using that, so let's create another object. By the way, you can use John.firstname. You can assign the value like this way. Use David. So let's use this method. Birth year. I want to add the birth year will be like this way. So let's look at that. What happens when you will call the John. Cool. Perfect, as you can see. So this is a manual way to add the value inside the variables, right? Oh, just a minute. This is a demo version of the theme, so we have seen the message, a lot of message, please upgrade that. Right, so let's create another function, another object. So I'm going to use David, and I'm going to use object.create. Target the object name where you want to add the prototype. Once you add the prototype inside the David, then you can use the David to use the function like calc, use the function like init. You can do that. So let's use David dot init, and then passing the value David. Now 1995 console.log, and I'm going to use it. So let's look at that. Right, now as you can see everything is same, but you can find out the functions inside the prototype object, right? So this is a call create.object inside the JavaScript. So thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day. Hey guys, welcome back. In this video we're going to discuss all about how you can inherit the classes and also constructor. So first of all, I'm going to create a constructor with the name of person. I'm going to give you first name, birth year. I'm going to pass in the parameter same thing, this dot first name, and this is first name, this dot last name, birth year, right? So this is our constructor, parent constructor, right? Let's attach the function inside the person constructor. Means I will create a function and then I will add that inside our person constructor. Then we're going to use the person constructor to use the function. So let's create the function. So I'm going to use person.prototype.calc function parentheses curly brackets, and I'm going to use console.log default negative I this dot birth year, right? So let's use the console.log and person. First we're going to check that it's working or not. So I'm going to open that. Yeah, it's working perfectly. Right. The next one is I'm going to create a child class with the name of child constructor. You can say that, right? I just use child const student, and I'm going to use function first name, birth year, and also I'm going to add another parameter inside there, right? Use the first name like that. First name, what happened, right? This dot birth year, and this dot course, right? And then we're gonna use same tactics like this one to add the method inside our child or student object. So I'm gonna use same thing like this one is student dot prototype.introduce right, and write the function parentheses calibrated. Log. My name is this dot first name. I am study this dot course, like this one, right? So then we're gonna call the just a minute const. I'm gonna create a variable, use new keyword, then I'm gonna target my student and assign the value like John and assign the value 1999 and passing the third parameter JavaScript, right? Let's look at that inside the console, John. So let's look at that, right? So inside they have a data like a birth year, course name. Those parameters is appeared inside my student object. So let's look at that inside the prototype. Have introduce function means this function is attached with our student object, and this function will attach with our person object, right? Let's call the functions which contains inside our student. So the first one is john.introduce, use parentheses, let's look at that, what happened. My name is John and I am study JavaScript, means John is able to use the student function like introduce, right? But when you will use John and calling the function like calcage, and you can't access that. Reason for using that, because we need to inherit the student with our person. So how you can do that? So in a minute I'm going to show you. Student, after that I'm going to use linking prototypes with person. So I'm going to use the student, right, dot prototype and use object dot create person dot prototype. So let's look at that. Right now, as you can see, the data has been appeared inside my console. Means you need to link the child class with your parent class or your child object with your parent object. Then you can access the method inside the person object or constructor, right? Another thing is, inside the constructor I have used, once you linked it like this one, you have used same properties inside the constructor and also have a same properties inside your student child. So you need to avoid that. So how you can avoid it? So I'm going to comment out and I'm going to use person. This is my constructor name. Inside that I'm going to passing the parameter like this dot, no, I'm going to passing the parameter first name and birth year like this one, but I will add this keyword. I'm going to show you important thing inside there. This means current object, so you can't access that right now. As you can see, can't set the property. Reason for using that, because we need to avoid the duplicate data inside our child class. So you need to fix that. How you can fix that? You need to use dot call function and you need to use this keyword and use comma. Don't use this again, just use one time this. So okay, one more time we need to fix this one. So and let's look at that. Perfect, everything is same, but I have reduced the code like this one. I don't need to use the multiple properties inside our parent and also child. So inside our parent have those same data and inside our student have a same data, so I need to avoid that, right? Let's look at that, the properties which contains inside our students. So I'm going to use John dot underscore underscore proto underscore underscore sub, and which functions is contains inside the John. So let's look at that. Introduce, this is the parent, this is the original method that is contained inside our person. Let's look at that. Another function that is calc edge, this function is contains with our person, means our this one object. So this is our function, means the John, or you can say that the students will able to access the both functions, calc edge and also introduce edge, right? Let's add that deep inside there. What is the child of the John? So the constructor have a calc edge. The first one is introduce. When I used 2 times proto, then I'm able to see the edge function has been appeared inside there. Means John is the first property or first prototype is our introduce function, and the second properties is like this one. Cool. Let's check it now using console.log John. I'm gonna check that instance of student. Means John will able to access the student data. Yes, true. Let's copy and paste, and also I'm gonna use person, means John will able to access the person data like a person function like this one, calc edge. Yes, perfect. But when you will comment this one without the prototype, you will able to see that right now, right? So you need to link that, then you can access the properties and also method inside the parent. So our person is a parent and our child is students. This function is attached inside our person, and this function is attached with our students. Once you link that, then both users or both objects are able to use the functions inside the students inside the persons, right? So this is called inheritance. Let's finally use console.log, and I'm going to check that student.prototype.constructor. So let's look at that inside the console. Right, cool, perfect. So this is the usage of the inheritance. In the next video we're gonna discuss that by using classes and many other things. So thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day. Hey guys, welcome back. In this video we're going to discuss all about inheritance between classes, and earlier we have used the constructor like this one and attach the method, create a child object, and attach the method. We have used this one create object to link the both of the objects. Once you link that, then you can execute the functions and properties with the help of child class or parent class. You can do that. This video I'm going to show you how you can create a class, how you can extend that, and how you can use the classes and property without using manually things like student prototype like that. So I need to get the class. In a minute I'm going to get this one class like this one. So here is a class, so I'm going to get this one class. Paste it, coming out. So here is a class. Inside the class have a parameters and some functions, right? So I'm going to create a child class. Child class is student. So write the class name, student cl. Once you create the class name, then you need to use extends keywords. Once you use the extend keyword, then you need to add the particular class name where you want to get the functions and use the property. So I want to get the functions and use the property from my personal class space curly brackets, right? Once you've done that, then the student CL will able to use the classes, means methods, properties using student CL. So let's do this. So I'm gonna leave all other things and I'm gonna create object const John new student CL, and I'm gonna pass in the parameters. Those parameters will assign on our this one and this one, right? Remember that I'm gonna use student CL. I do not use the personal CL. Reason for using that, because I have extends this one class inside there. Then I'm able to use this one student CL to display the methods and display the properties value inside our console. So let's do this. So I'm gonna use John and I'm gonna use 195 like that. Use console.log John cell. Let's look at that inside the console. John is a no full name, so yeah, I need to use the John Doe. Okay, so let's check it now. As you can see, this is the student CL. In the student CL have a prototype CL and have edge function like this one, like have edge function, calculate function, so on so far, right? Very simple. We don't need to create a prototype and something like that. Just use extend and parent class name. Then you can use the child class to display the data. Let's say I want to add more data inside my student CL, let's say. So I need to create a constructor inside my child class. So in the parent class have two parameters, right? But inside the student CL, I'm gonna add the first name, birth year, and also I'm gonna add another parameter as well, right? Once you've done that, then I want to get those properties from my this one personal. So inside there I need to use super keyword, and earlier we have used the keyword person, constructor name and call method, but inside there you need to use super keyword. Use super and then you need to use the parameters inside there. Those parameters will get from your parent class. So let's undo the full name. No, I'm going to use first name and birth year. Those parameters will assign inside our parent class. Right, the third one is I'm going to use this .course is equal to courses, like this one parameter. So, and I need to make a duplicate of that. So inside there I need to pass three parameters. The first one John Doe, second one is that, and third one is JavaScript. So now let's look at that inside the console. Right, now as you can see, full name John, birthday, and so on so forth. Means you have used the child class, you need a courses parameter, so you need to define on there. Remember that? Cool. Let's create an introduce function inside my introduce function. So inside I'm going to use console.log. My name is this dot underscore full name. This means I target my parent and have a underscore this one. Remember that? Cool. And I am study this dot courses. I'm gonna not target my course. I'm gonna target my courses that comes from where it is. I'm gonna check that way like this one, right? So yeah, I'm gonna save it and John dot introduce, calling the function, save it. Let's look at that. My name is John Doe. I'm study JavaScript. Cool. Let's use another way to override the method. So how you can override the method? First of all, I'm gonna show you one thing. I'm gonna calling my age function that contains inside my parent class, like this one, calc age. Sorry for that. So I'm gonna use calc age function. So first of all, we're gonna check that 55, only 55 value have been appeared inside my console, but I want to update that. Means I want to add some data when I will use it inside my child class. So I can do this. So I'm gonna get this one function completely and paste on there, but inside there I'm gonna update that. So I'm gonna add some text like I am this dot birth year 2014 negative y this dot birth year old. As a student, I feel more like $right 2014 negative this dot birthday, but I'm gonna increase 10 years. So, and then you will able to see your data has been updated right now. As you can see, I am a 55 years old as a student, something like that. But when you will comment that, you will able to see only the numbers data has been appeared. Just a minute, I'm gonna save it. Just save 55, right? So this is the usage of the inheritance between the first one and second one class, right? So thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day. Hey guys, welcome back. Let's look at that the inheritance using object.create. So we have know all about the inheritance between the classes, between the constructor, or you can say that object, but this time I'm going to use the object.create method to inherit the object. So let's start to write the code. So I'm going to create a person proto object, and then I'm going to call my method that contains inside my class. So I'm going to get that and paste on there, right? Save it. Then I want to use the inheritance, so I need to use const create a variable, use object.create and passing the person proto, right? Then John will able to use this one function. So let's start that. This time you can't see anything else. Reason for it to I need to assign the data, but this time I'm going to show you the object inside. As you can see, this is a complete empty object. Inside they have a calc age function. Means John are able to use the function inside the person proto, right? So let's create another function inside there. So I'm going to create an init first name birth year, and this dot first name, send the first name, and this dot birth year, assign the birth year, right? So we're gonna use John to use this one method, right? So I need to use John.init, and I'm gonna passing the parameters like programmer and 198 here. Then I'm gonna use console.log to display the data inside our console. So let's save it and let's look at that right now. As you can see, first name, last name. So this is a normal way to use the create.object method. The important thing is I will create another student proto, right? And I'm going to use the same thing dot create. Inside there I'm going to passing the same person proto, right? Then the student proto is also able to use those functions. So how you can do that? Let's start. I'm going to target the student proto dot init, and we need to override the function. In the student proto I need to add another parameter which will update inside my init function, right? So I'm going to use first name is Sam and birth year is Sam. Courses I need to include this one, right? Then the next one is we need to target the person that init. This one function I need to include that inside my there dot call, because I need to target my person proto parameter. So I need to use this first name and birth year. The last one is this dot course and the senators, right? You know how you can use the call method and this method to get the data from the parent object. So let's try it inside the console. So I'm going to use student.proto init and I'm going to use developer and 19090. It's console.log student.proto. So, and look at that. Okay, here's a mistake right now. Need to make a right now, as you can see, guys. Okay, course is undefined, so we need to use another parameter inside there because it is third parameters function right now, guys, as you can see. So this is our normal object. Inside the normal object have a function with parameters is birth year and first name. And also you can check out the prototype inside the calcage and init function. But inside there, inside the another object with the name of person proto have a birth year, course and name, first name, 3 parameters. Once you include the object.create, then the student proto is able to use the init function and also able to use the calcage function right now. As you can see, calcage and init function is included inside the prototype. So this is a call inheritance between the object and also create a method, object.create method. So I hope you understood as well. Thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day. Hey guys, welcome back. In this video we're gonna work on the classes, and inside the classes we're gonna create some methods and properties to display the data inside the console. Once we learn that, then we're gonna work on the access modifier like public, private and so on so far. So before moving on the advanced, we need to know the basic way and also usage of the classes and constructor. Inside that we're gonna add the functions and some logic. I'm gonna show you how you can do that. So I'm gonna create a class account, create a constructor, passing the parameter owner and currency and pin. So I'm going to use this, just a minute. Okay, just a minute, it's my problem right now. Right, so this dot owner, assign the owner, and this dot currency looks like currency like that, and assign the currency. Right, this dot pin and right, very simple class. So I'm going to create a object ACC. No, I will also calling class const ACC equal to new, and use the class name, passing the parameter John and 0 like that, and pin like that. Very simple, but I'm going to show you a few things inside there. So let's look at that. Perfect. Let's say I want to add the array. Means I want to pass the parameter array, and I'm going to use it inside my constructor, and when I call it, then I want to store the data. So how you can do that? Remember that I can do that like this way, and inside there I'm going to passing the value like this. So let's look at that, what happened. Okay, you can't see right now, but you can use this way. Right, cool. Alright, but the best way, I'm gonna comment that, remove it. You need to use this dot and create any name, write any name and use like this one input array. Right, so inside there, just like save it, and let's look at that. Same thing, but without passing the parameter inside there, right? Just use it inside there. Cool. The next one is I want to push the data inside my array. So how you can do that? But I'm gonna leave it inside there because I don't need that on this time. I'm able to see the array right now without passing the parameter. Perfect. The next one is I want to add the data inside my movement account. So I'm gonna use acc.push method, and I'm gonna pass in the value like acc.push negative means deposit. This will be deposit and this will be withdraw. So, and I'm gonna get that and paste on there. Let's look at that. Push. Okay, the cool thing is I need to target my movement then push like that. So perfect. Click on that, and those are values inside my array, but it is not good to use it outside of the constructor because it is a sensitive information. So you can create a methods inside the constructor. You can use that outside of the constructor. So let's do the how we can do that. I'm going to use public access modifier. You can say that the default, when I will use any function name, the default access modifier is public. Public means you can access it inside the constructor, inside the class, and also outside of the class you can do that. But have many other access modifiers like private, protected. But we're gonna use the private only. This time we need to know how you can manage the code. So let's create a function deposit parentheses val curly bracket. I'm gonna use this dot movement dot push and passing the value. This function will help us. I'm gonna use that deposit. This function will help us to deposit the value. The next one is you can create it to just a minute. I'm gonna use withdraw the account, withdraw the data. So inside there you need to use this dot, and then you can use the function name deposit. Inside the deposit you need to use negative value and passing this one value like that. So, and let's look at that. So I'm going to use deposit, passing the value 1000 like that. So let's look at that. Let's take our seeds. Okay, this will be withdraw. So right now, as you can see, I have one movement, 1000 has been deposited inside my array. Let's use the withdraw, and I'm going to add the withdraw will be 500. So let's click on that. The same thing is appeared inside the movement array, but my code is appeared inside the constructor. I don't use the code or any other method outside of the constructor. Basically it is privacy based data, so you need to protect that, right? Let's give you let's work on another example on that. So approve. So I'm going to create a function approve loan. val. I'm gonna use just like a return true. Means I don't need to use any logic inside there. I'm going to show you a few things that will help you to understand how you can use the JS to make attractive and professional applications, right? So I'm going to create another function, request loan, passing the parameter val, and I'm going to use if this dot approve loan function. This function I'm going to call it inside there val. This parameter is passing on there. Then I'm going to use this dot and I'm calling the deposit function like this one inside the if statement, and I'm going to passing the val value, right? Then I'm going to use console.log loan has been approved, right? And yeah, also I'm going to add the few things inside there, like this dot local. I'm going to use a navigator dot language, and yeah, I'm going to use also console.log thanks for opening the account and the owner name, whatever the owner name is. So yeah, perfect. So I'm going to calling the function acc dot request loan, and I'm going to passing that 5000. So that's okay. Loan has been approved. Thanks for opening the account, John. So this is a text coming from my constructor like this one, and the next one I have a thanks for loan has been approved. The data is coming from our this one function, and our data has been stored inside my array like this one, as you can see 500, and have a few more things inside there. This is the local property, and this is the value of the local property is en British. Right now this is the local English, right? So this is the usage of the classes inside there. I have used many logics. So the first one is I made the function like a deposit, then I made another function with inside the function I have used the deposit function, and also I made another function request loan. Inside there I used the same function like this. So you can use this tactics to protect the data, right? So in the next video we're going to discuss all about the private and many other things. So thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day. Hey guys, welcome back. Let's look at that. The protected property in JavaScript means protected the variables, or you can say that properties and methods. Once you protected it, then you can display the data outside of the class. Otherwise you can't update the data. Let's say I have an array inside my class like this one movement, and I have a method to deposit and withdraw the data. Outside of the class I've used the method to deposit the value, but you can use manually. You can do that like this one to update or update the data like this one, right? So we have seen the data has been appeared inside the array like 500 and 1000 like this one, 250 and negative 500. But when you will use protected, then you can't update the record inside the movement. So let's look at that, how we can protect it. The protected any property, you need to use the convention like underscore like this one, save. And once you save it, and then you can use uncommented save it. Let's look at that. Can't read the property of undefined reading push, means you can't update the record inside the movement. Reason for using that means protected the data inside the class. You can get the data outside of the class using method. So how you can do that? So let's look at that. I'm going to create a method that will get this one data from the class protected. I'm gonna use that get movement method. You need to use this dot movement, use return this dot movement. That's it. You need to get this one method and go to outside of that, use console.log acc.get movement sub, and you will get the data, but you can't override the data, right? So as you can see, we have seen the data 1000, -500 and 5000, right? So this is a call protected property in JavaScript. By the way, all methods and property defaults have a public property, means you can access it inside the class, outside of the class, and also you can update the value outside of the class, because those are public access modifier, you can say that, right? So this is a very short video all about the protected. In the next video we're going to discuss all about the private property. So thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day.